In the peaceful village of Sakya, nestled among serene mountains, there lived a young man named Danush. Known for his intelligence and charm, Danush had many talents, but he also struggled with a deep-rooted issue: bad habits. Despite his abilities, he would often fall into laziness, indulgence, and procrastination, avoiding the work that would bring him success and fulfillment. He spent his days distracted by momentary pleasures, unaware of how his habits were silently shaping his life. One day, an old friend from his childhood visited him. The friend had become a monk, having spent years studying the teachings of the Buddha at a nearby monastery. His name was Bhante Arjuna, a man of wisdom and peace, respected by the villagers for his insights into human nature and the path to enlightenment. Bhante Arjuna noticed Danush's discontent and asked him, "My friend, why do you seem troubled? You have all the gifts in the world, yet your heart appears heavy." Danush sighed, admitting, "I feel stuck, Bhante. I know what I should do, yet I can't seem to break free from my habits. I waste my time and energy on things that bring me no joy, but I don't know how to stop." The monk nodded, recognizing the weight of Danush's struggle. "You are not alone, Danush. Many are trapped by their habits, unaware of the power they hold over them. It is as if we carry a heavy load, but we have grown so accustomed to it that we forget it is there." Curious, Danush asked, "What can I do? How can I free myself from these habits?" Bhante Arjuna smiled and said, "Come with me tomorrow at dawn, and I will show you." The next morning, as the sun rose over the mountains, Danush met the monk at the village outskirts. Together, they walked into a nearby forest. The air was crisp and the birds sang sweetly. After walking for some time, they reached an old, gnarled tree with roots sprawling across the ground. The monk pointed to a small sapling growing nearby and asked Danush to pull it out of the ground. Puzzled but obedient, Danush easily pulled the sapling from the earth roots. Bhante Arjuna then pointed to a larger plant and said, "Now pull that one." Danush struggled for a moment, but with some effort, he managed to uproot the larger plant. Finally, the monk gestured to the massive, ancient tree and said, "Now, remove this tree." Danush stared at the tree in disbelief. "But that's impossible," he exclaimed. "This tree has been growing here for years. Its roots run deep into the earth. I could never pull it out." The monk's eyes twinkled as he replied, "Exactly. Bad habits are like this tree. When they are small, like the sapling, they are easy to remove, but when they grow unchecked, they become deeply rooted, and the longer we let them grow, the harder they are to uproot." Danush stood in silence, the monk's words sinking in. He realized that his bad habits had started small, simple acts of avoidance, minor distractions, but over time they had grown stronger, entangling his mind and actions. Bhante Arjuna continued, "This is the ignorance we all face, my friend. We do not recognize the power of our habits until they become so ingrained that we feel powerless against them. But the Buddha teaches us that nothing is permanent. Just as this tree grew from a small seed, so can we, with patience and mindfulness, remove even the deepest of habits." "But how?" asked Danush, his voice filled with hope and desperation. The monk sat beneath the ancient tree, gesturing for Danush to join him. "The first step is awareness. You must observe your habits, without judgment, and understand how they arise. What triggers them? What emotions do they bring? Once you become aware of your habits, you can begin to weaken their hold over you." He went on, "Next, practice mindfulness. Each time you feel the urge to indulge in a bad habit, pause. Take a deep breath, and in that moment of stillness, decide if you wish to continue feeding that habit, or if you wish to choose a different path. Every time you choose the path of awareness and restraint, the roots of your bad habit weaken." Danush listened intently, feeling a sense of clarity for the first time in years. He realized that change would not come overnight, but he was ready to take the first step. Bhante Arjuna placed a hand on Danush's shoulder. "Remember, my friend, you do not have to fight your habits all at once. Start small, as the Buddha teaches us. Uproot one sapling at a time, and with each step, you will grow stronger, and one day, even the deepest roots will lose their grip." With newfound determination, Danush thanked the monk and returned to his village. Over the next few weeks, he began to practice mindfulness in his daily life. Whenever he felt the pull of his bad habits, he paused, breathed, and made a conscious choice. Slowly but surely, the power of his habits began to weaken, and a sense of freedom and peace filled his heart. Danush learned that the ignorance of bad habits was not in their existence, but in his failure to recognize their power. By becoming aware and taking small, mindful steps, he realized he had the strength to reshape his life. As time passed, Danush's life transformed. He became more disciplined, focused, and joyful, free from the habits that once controlled him. And whenever he walked through the forest and saw the ancient tree, he smiled, remembering the wisdom of Bhante Arjuna and the power of uprooting ignorance, one step at a time. In the end, Danush discovered that the path to freedom from bad habits lay not in fighting them, but in understanding them, tending to the roots with patience, mindfulness, and compassion.